Hello everyone, and welcome to For Fun and Profit. Now, for those of you who don't know, For Fun and Profit was the name of my games journalism vlog, which I'm now going back to because Lion's Honor is down for a while. Anyways, I decided to do a few of these in video format because they just work better that way in some cases. Now, today's topic, Mega Man Legends. Is it a good translation of Mega Man from 2D to 3D? Well, let's get to it. First off, for those who don't know what Mega Man is, well, first, you're probably seeing it play right now. Oh, you are seeing it play right now. Okay, anyways. Mega Man is a 2D Mega Man is a 2D side-scrolling shooter. You jump, you shoot, you move to the right. That's basically it. Occasionally you go up or there's some stupid-ass gimmick that you have to deal with for one stage. Not much else. Eventually moved on to the Mega Man X series on the Super Nintendo, which was basically Mega Man, but bigger and better in pretty much every way. Now, sorry, I just bumped my mic. Then we get to the transition from the second dimension to the third dimension. Now, this caused a whole bunch of franchises problems. And most of the ones that worked in 2D, or worked in this transition from 2D to 3D, had to change something fundamental about their philosophy. Zelda got a lot more story-driven and a lot more linear because trying to make full 3D non-linearity, sorry, I just choked on that word, didn't work as well as it would have. Now, and they wouldn't actually get back to that non-linearity for fucking ever. So when it was time for Mega Man to make the jump for 3D to 3D, they had to make some decisions. Now, they could have tried to stick with just the basic 2D Mega Man formula, but by the time Mega Man Legends came out, a couple of other franchises had already tried that and failed. Castlevania being the biggest example of how not to do it. Now, so what they did instead was they made something a bit more, well, actually a bit more like Legend of Zelda. You had to explore dungeons, find treasures, you had to upgrade you could add weapons you could upgrade, and you didn't get them from bosses, which functioned differently as a whole. It was more of an action-adventure game than just a straight action platformer. Now, this is where it gets tricky. Is this a good translation of Mega Man to 3D? That being our question. Now, here's the thing. Later on, the traditional Mega Man formula, they did try to translate to 3D. And most everyone will tell you the Mega Man X7 sucked. And it sucked hard. Mega Man X8 took it back to being mostly 2D with just some 3D effects. So from that we can kind of guess that 2D Mega Man's translated straight to 3D just doesn't work. This is the same problem that the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise just ran into. If you want to make a Sonic the Hedgehog 3D game, you can't use the same basic Sonic gameplay. And there will be another video detailing that later on. But for this, probably the best way to translate Mega Man into 3D was to make it an action-adventure type game, or maybe something like a first-person shooter. Something to that effect. Something that kept the whole running and gunning and maybe platforming that Mega Man had, but still made it work in 3D. Now, whether they needed the dungeons and the treasures, that's a matter of opinion. I'll be honest, I actually prefer Mega Man Legends a bit more than classic Mega Man but that's just because I enjoy that style of play more. So, as for the question of whether or not it's a good adaptation, of the essence of Mega Man. Now that's where it gets tricky. What is the essence of a franchise? Is the essence of a franchise its characters? No. Is the essence of a franchise its gameplay? And that's the tricky one. I would actually argue that no, it's not. For those of you who've played BioShock Infinite as well as the original BioShock, you'll notice that the combat in BioShock Infinite didn't quite sync up to the world that was presented in BioShock Infinite as well as it had in the world of the original BioShock. That's because the essence of BioShock isn't actually its gameplay. It's more in its narrative, which makes sense as BioShock is the offspring of the System Shock franchise. Now, so what is the essence of Mega Man? Well, it's not is it its gameplay? Is it its characters? Is it the story? For me, and it's a tricky question. What the main core of Mega Man is for me, may not be what the main core of Mega Man is for you. And that's fine. This is something that's been debated by dozens of people before me. It'll be debated by dozens of people after me. And hell, this video is coming because a friend of mine, Sabijan Games, or Zack Snyder, not that one, trust me, questioned how well Mega Man worked in 3D in the Mega Man Legends games. Now here's the thing about that. For me, the core of Mega Man has been the ability to adapt. It's been the ability it's Mega Man's arsenal upgrading. Now, I do enjoy 2D Mega Man, although my favorite 2D Mega Man game is Rosencreutzstallette, so take of that what you will. But it's the running and the platforming isn't what makes Mega Man, because I could identify Mega Man X Command Mission, which was a JRPG, as a Mega Man game. You couldn't just slap the Final Fantasy label on it, or the Adventures of Captain Robot McLaserscarf on there. I wouldn't buy it. It's still a Mega Man game because it's got the essence of it. Your characters adapt as you go through, and they overcome. Mega Man X Command Mission didn't quite get the essence of Mega Man, to be fair, but it was still recognizably a Mega Man game. Mega Man Legends has that adaptability in spades. It has took it in a direction that will later be adopted by something like something akin to the Zero or ZX franchises, with more than just the basic upgrade to how you fire your gun, or what comes out of your gun, rather. Instead of just a different kind of bullet, you had guns that fire differently. Some were continuous lasers, some were rocket launchers, some were machine guns. It wasn't just the type of bullet. You had to actually think about how to use your weapon. There was even a melee weapon in the first game, and there was this like weird ass fire extinguisher thing in the second. I don't know, but the point is, instead of just having a different weapon to fire, instead of just having different bullets, rather, you had different actual weapons. But it still kept things true to the roots. There wasn't a truly insane amount of customization. It wasn't just like the Battle Network series, which honestly could have changed the title completely and it wouldn't be that recognizable as a Mega Man game. But the essence is still there, that adaptability, changing your tactics to beat the next boss or get through the next stage. Now, I do get the feeling that the 3D Mega Man should have had more of the running and jumping and platforming instead of such a focus on exploration and story. And I get that. Along with the shift to 3D came a massive shift towards more story-focused games, and Mega Man was hit hard by that. It's also another one of the reasons The Legend of Zelda went a lot more linear. Now, outside of that though, I think the focus on exploration wasn't just based off of a desire to make Mega Man work in 3D. It was also based off a desire to make full use of that new 3D technology. 3D was still new at the time. The original PlayStation 1 controller that Mega Man Legends works with didn't even have analog sticks, which is why I recommend Mega Man 64 over Mega Man Legends. It's the same game, just with an analog stick. Although I'm not entirely sure, but Mega Man Legends might have DualShock capacity. I haven't tested that. Anyways, sorry, my nose itches. Anyways, with the shift to full 3D came a desire by game developers to make use of that 3D, and that is what led to those sprawling sprawling Super Mario 64 levels and the whole collectathon platformer genre. It's what led to Zelda being, well, no, actually didn't have that much of an effect on Zelda. Zelda was already pretty world heavy. It's what led to Castlevania being, the 3D Castlevanias being more of a exploration type of RPG thing. And it's definitely, my side of my head is just damn. And it is definitely what led to Mega Man Legends having that exploration-based focus, as opposed to the level structure. Would the level structure have worked in 3D? Yes, it would have. There's no getting around that. And they probably could have incorporated more platforming. The platforming in Mega Man Legends is actually pretty solid for what it is. But another thing you have to take into account with the transition to 3D is that 3D platforming without the joystick was difficult. Early PlayStation fans will remember Crash Bandicoot and Spyro, which which were good games. Don't get me wrong, but they didn't quite flow as well as the Nintendo 64 platformers, and it wasn't just better experience. The joystick on that N64 controller made platforming a hell of a lot easier because you had more motor control in the air. So that's probably why platforming wasn't as big a focus in Mega Man Legends as it was in 2D Mega Man. But the running, the gunning, the adaptability, that's all there. Now, as for a couple of other things, the voice acting, it was the first generation with large scale voice acting, and it was originally in Japanese. Yeah, the voice acting was bad. It was actually worse than Mega Man Legends 2. Trust me. I don't know what they did to Volnut's actor. And one thing I do like is that one thing they definitely did well, and you can't argue this. Whether or not you like Mega Man Legends, just about the smartest thing they did with it was to make it a spin-off series to the original Mega Man games. So if you're a big fan of the classic Mega Man and just don't like Mega Man Legends, then that's fine. You don't actually have to consider it that hard when considering your Mega Man games, because it's not in the same canon. Arguably, there's some saying that takes place in between in between X and Zero, or between Zero and ZX, and I don't buy it. I don't. Nothing adds up on that for me. So, yeah. Personally, I do think that Mega Man Legends is as good as Mega Man was going to get in 3D, at least early on. Later on, they could try. I would like to see them try classic Mega Man style in 3D. These days, now that we have a better understanding of how 3D works, but I'm not convinced it would work as well as people think it did. One of the things that made 2D Mega Man work very well is that you always had a good view of the screen. With 3D, that's a lot more difficult. And it's one of the problems that ran into in early Legend of Zelda and early 3D Zelda and early 3D Mario, is that sometimes you just get blindsided by an enemy off screen and it was fucking bullshit and it pissed you off and you didn't want to deal with it and fuck this shit. And that's one of the advantages that such a massive change in formula to Mega Man Legends had, is that they could design entirely for 3D without having to worry about bringing in artifacts from the 2D games that just didn't work in 3D. So, whether or not you consider it to be full, true Mega Man, there's no denying that Mega Man Legends is how you do a good, pragmatic translation of a 2D game into 3D. Now, there are other games. Now, as I said, there are some problems, and I understand if you don't like Mega Man Legends. I honestly consider it a great game on the N64. Just skip the PlayStation version. Just skip it. It's not worth it. Trust me. Okay. Unless it's got DualShock analog. Unless it's got DualShock control, which if it does, like I said, I haven't been able to test that. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, actually, no, it's not. There is one other thing that there is one other reason I think that they didn't try the 2D style of Mega Man in 3D, and that's the style of 2D Mega Man leaned very heavily into that 2D, and Mario did the same thing. So did 2D Sonic. And what I mean by that is, not having to worry about that third dimension meant that linearity was a bit easier to pull off. In 3D, most everyone will tell you that just going straight down a corridor doesn't really work. If you're looking for an example, just go play Final Fantasy 13. It's bad. It's fucking boring. Now, the difference there is that I don't think in early 3D they'd quite figured out how to make linearity interesting without just setting every level in a fucking corridor. It would be a couple of years before that was set up. Honestly, the first game I would really say made linearity work in 3D would be Devil May Cry 3, and that was a whole console generation later. So, yeah, that may just be me. Or they could have gone the Crash Bandicoot route, I suppose, but if they're going to do that, honestly, I would have rather have had I'm glad I got Mega Man Legends instead of just Mega Man with the ability to move side to side as he moves forward. Just adding a tacked on third dimension to your 2D game just doesn't work, alright? It doesn't. Okay? Okay. But yeah, that's it now. So, yeah. Alright, thank you everybody so much for watching. This has been Basilisk, and I will see you all in the next video. So, yeah, thank you, and good night, folks.